All right. So, folks, this is Frederick Jones, founder and publisher of Saturday AM, the world's most diverse Shonen manga anthology. And we are now live for our pub talk for November 2018. This is a very special episode. Now, as always, two things you can count on. One, we're running late. In this case, we're running about an hour late. So that's on me. If you follow our Instagram, we always keep you up to date. And I had my father stop by, and I always make time for family. I hope you guys do the same. So in this case, my father stopped by, and it was a pleasant surprise. So I had a chance to spend a little time with him. So I did let everyone know on Instagram we were going to be delayed as a result of this. But if you are coming to us from another platform, I do apologize that we are starting a little later than we had intended. The second thing is that this chat, we always kind of do it in a bit of a, it's not the most sophisticated format. It is live. We utilize the Google Hangout platform. So it's set up a little differently. It's not the smoothest of presentations, but it does work for us. We tend to get good views and good support for it. So just know that going in, that we are, that this is not there's not going to be on-screen graphics popping up left and right. We'll have a few slides that'll pop in and out as we talk about the subjects we'll talk about. If you've never tuned into a pub talk, you should. It is basically an opportunity for me as publisher Saturday AM to talk about some of the industry things that are occurring and to give some insight, particularly to up-and-coming independent creators, about some of the things to look out for. Certainly that we're seeing as it relates to the industry, how it's changing, and ways that you can take advantage of it for your own opportunities. So that situation there, we're very fortunate today. We've got a special guest for this very special episode. I wanted to have someone who just that I know and that I'm personally a fan of, but also someone that can talk about this very important person, which is, of course, the one and only Stan Lee, who we lost yesterday. And that person is one of my co-founders of Saturday AM and the creator of the fan favorite series Bully Eater, and that is Mr. Raymond Brown. Mr. Raymond Brown is joining us. I think this is your first time on these chats, Raymond. Is that right?
Yeah, no, first time I heard you say that many nice things about me all in one sentence, too. So that's for a lot of firsts.
This is very, as the title card says, Raymond, a very special episode.
Yeah, very special. Very special. It'll go down to history, at least for me. I know it will for me. So
internally, this will be known as the time that Frederick gave Raymond a lot of public love. So
yes, but hey, everybody, glad to be here.
Well, folks, again, we're really excited to have you guys join us. Again, I want to apologize for the delay. Those of you who follow us know, that we're always brutally honest about how these things are set up and some of the things we go through and stuff with it. But regardless, we're very excited to just be doing this and to have you guys a part of this. So today's episode, we're going to run through a lot of the great things that we have planned for Saturday AM. We're going to be making some announcements here, not a lot, but some. So this will be a good opportunity for you guys who are new to Saturday AM to get a chance to learn a bit more about us and go from there. So give me a moment. What I'm doing right now, as always, I'm running into some challenges. I'm trying to there we go, of course, and this is going to cause some problems here. So I'm trying to set something up here, and it's messing up. So just bear with me for a second, folks. This is what I mean about the sort of ghetto setup that we have here, and I do apologize for that. Let me see if I can pull this up. I don't know why I can't. Okay, there we go. All right. So for those of you who don't know, what I'm doing is I am setting up. Raymond, you can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. So what I have to do, guys, again, just shows you just how jacked up the system is. What I have to do is is I am manipulating another screen that you can't see, obviously. And in so doing this, it is allowing me a chance to see the communications that are happening, to make sure that I can monitor the people in the room, make sure everything is being, represented well. It's always important for us to make sure that everyone who is a part of these live chats gets a chance to experience a live chat without some of the negativity and nastiness that sometimes is pretty free on the internet. So we want you guys to have a pleasant experience. We will take questions from you guys at the end of the chat. So please hold your questions till the end, and we'll go from there. But as always, feel free to talk amongst yourselves, comment on things we're saying, have fun, because that's what Saturday AM is all about. Let's start off with just a quick sort of, kind of setup as to what Saturday AM is, because this is always a bit of the challenge is getting people to understand exactly what Saturday AM is. So let me first and foremost just say that if you guys love Shonen Jump, then I think you'll love Saturday AM. We are the world's most diverse Shonen manga anthology, and for those of you who don't know what that means, essentially, if you like things like Shonen Jump, where you've got these amazing characters and it's got that awesome anime style to it, the scenarios and the concepts are always really original. If you like that, then we believe you will love Saturday AM. We're an anthology, so as opposed to supporting Marvel and DC and some of the other companies, where you have to buy like 19 different comic books to get the whole story. Here we make two magazines, Saturday AM and Saturday PM. Saturday AM, our flagship, consists of characters and creators who are from all over the world. So you can see here with just this image of some of our biggest series that we have faces that are black and brown. We have characters who are Asian, characters who are white, characters who are Latin American, characters who are sheep. We have an Indian American character. And so we really care about diversity. We think that it is a really important thing, not just because it's the right thing to make sure that the world feels represented, but it's the right thing in terms of storytelling, because it allows you to tell different types of stories. One of the challenges of manga right now, even in Japan, in our opinion, is that a lot of the material just kind of feels the same. And if you think about it from the standpoint of being a manga fan in another country outside of Japan, you are getting some of the best that they have to offer. And even that sometimes feels very similar to each other. What you don't know is in Japan, there's far more manga that comes out that you'll never see. And so we really feel strongly that the art form that we love can be even bigger and can take on even more resonance by embracing diversity. So we're really proud to have a company and a brand that has really spoken to the love of manga around the world, but does so with characters and creators who actually reflect the global fan base of manga, and not just the sort of, Asian, white, centric sort of look that sometimes, not sometimes, 99% of the time dominates the way manga is, manga and anime is. So we're really proud of Saturday AM. We are really happy because we actually are celebrating today our 5th year anniversary. I don't know, Raymond, if you knew this, but today is our 5-year anniversary. You there, Raymond?
Yep, still here.
Oh, okay. Folks, you're going to see this a lot in this episode. Raymond will disappear because he has to take care of 19 kids. Raymond, what did you think?
18 kids.
18. My bad. I lose track. What did you know today was our birthday?
No. It makes sense though. I remember it being around my birthday when we got started. So yeah, man. I didn't even realize you said something though.
Yep. This was the day 5 years ago that we actually launched the beta issue of Saturday AM. We launched the website and launched the beta on November 13th. And so here we are 5 years later. Did you ever think you'd hit 5 years with Saturday? We didn't think we'd make it to January, year 1.
I was out 53.
I know.
Time flies, man. I mean, it's insane. It's insane how 5 years just here and there that quickly. It's insane.
It is absolutely insane. So we started the company. It was myself and Raymond. In fact, Raymond was the first person. I mean, the very first person was a gentleman who's no longer with us named Eric Michael Ella. I had hired him to produce massively multiplayer World of Ghosts, which was the very first series for Saturday AM. And then, you know, as I was putting this stuff together, I knew I wanted to do something that felt that was branded, because that was my background in the video game industry. I launched a lot of intellectual property that, or played a role in launching some of the intellectual property you guys may like. And so anyway, so I knew that I wanted something that was brand oriented, you know, same way that PlayStation is or Nike is. At that time, webcomics were kind of disseminated amongst various webcomic sites like Manga Magazine, and Tapastic was just starting to come along, Smack Jeeves, and a variety of sites. So we were the first to kind of collect it into an actual brand name. And after I created MWOG, I knew I needed more series if I was going to make this brand happen. So the first person I ran into, first webcomic that I saw that I really liked, was Bully Eater by Raymond Brown. And then from there, Raymond and I went about assembling the other people, which was, I think, Wally first and then White second. Was that right?
Yeah, Wally, then White, then Andrea.
Right. Yeah. And so yeah, and then Andrea Voros actually joined us in our third issue. She came in we did an interview with her, even though we had locked her in. We did an interview with her, which debuted in issue 3. And then her comic actually began with issue 4, which has Saigami on the cover. So we have this commemorative sticker here. We're going to start making these available on the website, and it will feature, you can get the sticker, and it's got obviously our main characters on it. Now, obviously, we've grown, as you saw in the original image, to many characters. We got many more coming, but our hashtag Road to 100 consists of these 4 major properties kind of leading the charge to bring Saturday AM from issue 1 to issue 100 here in another couple of weeks. So really proud of this. This is a really big deal for us to have made it to this point. And again, I'm happy to be doing this chat on this day with my good friend Raymond to talk about this. Now, one of the things you guys may not know is that we actually just completed a Kickstarter, and we are super proud of this Kickstarter because, it's the first official Kickstarter that we did at Saturday AM. We attempted a Kickstarter a little while before then, but this is the first official Kickstarter that we decided to do. And the idea is we already make graphic novels, as many of you guys know. The graphic novel actually does really well online, like, Apple Black on Amazon. Apple Black outsells some manga from companies that are far bigger than we are. So we're really proud of what we currently do with graphic novels, but what we want to narrative a little bit, change the design up a little bit, and take the product into a different direction, which would allow us to go to retail. We want to be the next big manga brand, which you will find at your local Barnes & Nobles, if they're still in business, your local Books A Million, your local comic book stores, so on and so forth. We believe that these new versions of our graphic novels, which we call Tanks, Saturday Tanks, this is going to be this new line will be called Saturday Tanks Perfect Editions. We believe that these will be really exciting for first-time followers of Saturday AM, people who really love manga and like supporting companies like Yen Press and Kodansha and so on as 7 Seas. We think that we can really compete with them, and so we've chosen 3 of our strongest titles. Apple Black Volume 1, which is a revised version with some new content. Saigami Volume 1, which is a revised version with some new content. And Hammer Volume 1, which is completely brand new. We've never done Hammer before. It'll be presented entirely in full color. All the books will have multiple pages in color, but the entire book will be in full color for Hammer. And so we just think this is a great way to launch a graphic novel line to take on the big companies out there in the comic industry. So we're really excited about this. We want to thank each and every one of the people who supported our Kickstarter for helping us achieve this goal. And I can give some news on this today exclusively. But first, let me turn over to Raymond and ask Raymond, do you have any thoughts on our Kickstarter? Anything that caught your attention?
Yeah, I mean, just how everybody really showed up and helped us out with this. I mean, we did a Kickstarter. What was it, year one? And I think we may have got that $1,000, whatnot,
Mhm.
but this time, I mean, I think we were like 5 grand, in the first week.
That's right.
So just want to give a shout to everybody who either, put some, supported with money or even just shared it and told your friends about it. I mean, all of it helped. So.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. The first year, as Raymond said, we actually did a Kickstarter our very first year, and the Kickstarter was it wasn't in Saturday M's names. That's why I say it wasn't our first official Kickstarter. This one
Yeah,
was.
technically it was my Kickstarter.
Right. So Raymond sucked. He screwed it all up. That's why we don't
Yeah,
talk about it much anymore. But no, it
we would
was
have hit it if it went under my account.
exactly. Had it been under the name of, I don't know, my dog, we would have succeeded. But
Probably.
but it was in Raymond's name, so people just. But no, it's funny. So for those of you who are creators or hope to be, creators of your own brand or your own webcomic, I think the lesson that we learned, because the thing that was so funny that first year was that we had greater success than we ever had intended, right? We produced the magazine, we had all 20 issues come out, which was just crazy. I mean, it was a bi-weekly magazine. I mean, I've said this many times, and it's never meant to be a negative thing, but it's just a reality thing. But the idea that that this is easy is crazy, right? Like we created our magazine. We didn't get any outside funds. We just basically said, hey, you don't know us, but we're going to do a digital magazine. It's going to feel like an actual magazine as a high-res PDF. You can read it on your smartphone, your tablet. We pulled together the various technologies to make that happen. We pulled together the various creators, all of which were amateurs. And the very first month, we had people signing up to subscribe to the magazine, and it just continued from there. And it was really amazing because we had no idea. I had people telling me this is the stupidest thing that I ever could have done. And I came from a corporate background, so this was a huge risk for me, reputation wise and financially. But it was amazing that we actually got this far doing that. But the first year, we thought, because we'd had such immediate success, that we could do the Kickstarter, and we failed miserably. And I think that just goes to show you something I've said repeatedly, which is that building a fan base is hard. Just because we get viewers on this YouTube, for example, this show will go on to do 300, 400, 500 views in the first couple of days. And this is going to be an hour or so video. That's not normal, right? Most of these guys will do thousands of views if they can for videos that are 3, 4, 5, 7 minutes long. We get those type of views over time on videos that are 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours long. This is not normal, but at the same time, it's free, right? You guys didn't pay for this. You're paying for our magazine, but you're not paying for this. And so that's where the challenge lies, is that sometimes it's easy to think that you've got a bigger fan base than you actually do. And that first year, even though we had a lot of success, we didn't have the fan base that could support a Kickstarter in its very first year. So it was a wake-up call for us. And I would say the same for you guys, to not sometimes don't believe the hype. Give yourself time to truly build a fan base and an audience. You agree with that, Raymond?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to, with anything, you have to put in time. I mean, you may get, a little boost because, maybe your art's really good or, whatnot, but it always takes time. It always takes time. And don't feel, don't let other, things like other people's Instagrams, things like that, tell you any different. It takes time for everybody.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean that's the bottom line, and again, it's really hard to do the magazine. It's like really hard to do our magazine. So regarding the perfect editions, which was the point of the Kickstarter, I want to give a couple of announcements. First things first, we are in production on the books as we speak, because we're going to be redoing some of the lettering, redoing the editorial. I mean, not editorial, but be editing it, putting some editorial on it a second time. Meaning we're going to catch grammar mistakes and make sure that things read correctly. We're going to be adding color, obviously, to some of these books. So because of that, this is the current schedule for those of you who would have ordered or support our Kickstarter. This is the current schedule of when you can expect to receive these books. Hammer Volume 1 will come out in March for backers of our Kickstarter who select Hammer. Now, before I go further, let me just say, if you are a backer of our Kickstarter, you will actually not get the I'm trying to get the survey out to people today, but you will choose what you're supposed to get. So that survey, once I complete the survey, I'll get it out to you guys, and then you just fill the survey out. And once we have that information, we will then begin to get the process to make sure that you're going to get your stuff when you order it. But we've already let our backers know, and I'm letting everyone else now know, that Hammer Volume 1 will come out in March. Apple Black Volume 1, this new version of this, will come out in April. And finally, Saigami Volume 1, this new version of Saigami Volume 1, will come out in May. So that is the setup that that we want everyone to understand. Now, dates may change, but for right now, that is the current plan. Now, there are lots of cool things that came from the Kickstarter. I won't go into all those details now, but I will say that obviously there's a lot of things that people will have a chance to get. So we are working very hard to have the brand new 0 issue of Saturday AM come out to our backers. We hope to get that out at the beginning of 2019. So we hope that this will be the very first issue we release in 2019. Will be the Saturday AM issue number 0, and it will include Saturday Wars. It will include the first sneak peek of our brand new crossover series that finds all of our characters meeting each other and having to battle for their lives. This is something obviously that you see all the time in Marvel and DC, whether it's Secret Wars or Crisis. This is something that literally has been in the works since our first year. So we're really proud to finally get this thing in a position to come out. But again, you will get the sneak peek of this in our 0 issue. It will also include, the 0 issue will also include some brand new content, which will include brand new chapter 0, which will not be part of the graphic novel for Hammer. We'll also include some content material, brand new content material from White Manga, Andrea Voros, Blake Showers, featuring characters like Imwag, Clock Striker, Bully Eater, and so on. You'll get to see all this stuff in the 0 issue, which will come out at the beginning of 2019. Another backer reward, this will come out before the end of the year, will be our Saturday AM primer. And this is something, again, has been requested by a lot of our fans, and that is, they discover Saturday AM, they want to learn more about Saturday AM, but they don't quite know where to start. Well, this is going to kind of be like a magazine Wikipedia. It's going to give you all the information about Daedalus Bond and Viper Neo from Imwag, about Sano and Ruzaki from Apple Black, about Asao and Ao from Bully Eater, and so on and so forth. All these cool main characters from Saturday AM series will be in the primer. You'll get information about their powers, about their origin stories, basic information about their height and weight, and just all these various cool facts that people have been constantly asking us because they don't quite understand. They come to the series maybe midway through and they just want to know who these characters are. Who do you root for? Well, the primer is going to give all the information. That's going to come out by the end of this year. There's lots of other cool things that are on the horizon via the Kickstarter. If you did, for example, a Kickstarter that includes the commissions by White Manga, Andrea Voros, or Jay Oden, we will be, again, with the survey that we send out, we'll be soliciting information from you about that commission so that our great artists can get started drawing the artwork that you're gonna want them to draw for the commission. So this is a really cool way to get a commission from people like Wyatt, Andrea, and Jay Oden, creators of Apple Black, Saigami, and Hammer, respectively. Again, tons of stuff in here. And so I did see one question here. I'll answer that one, and that is, if you ordered all 3 books, do you get them as do you get them all at once, or you get them as a package? We would prefer to send them all at once, but we will stagger things as need be. So we will discuss that via the survey. That's one of the things making the survey a little difficult, is how to set that up exactly. But one of the challenges with that, obviously, is that it becomes cost prohibitive if we send them out individually. So we want to try to send them all together, because if you ordered all 3, that means you're getting prints, you're getting a lot of material, and that's, from a box standpoint, that's a more complicated procedure, and it just would be cool to get them all at once. You're going to be getting things no one else gets, so you know, it's best for us to put them all together. Okay, so with all that being said, then let us talk about some things that are happening right now in the news. We're going to get to Stan Lee here in a minute, but let's talk about some Saturday AM news. First things first, let's just start off with just some basic cool stuff. Raymond, you been watching any anime?
Yeah.
What anime you been watching?
Goblin Slayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. Well, let me just say this is so, folks. If you guys have been following along, this is a brand new anime fall season. We have an excellent write up about this in our latest issue, which is issue number 97. We have a breakdown of the 10 hottest anime from this fall season. But that being said, lots of cool series. I think it's one of the best anime fall seasons in some time. But Raymond has mentioned one of the more controversial anime. There's a picture here of Fairy Tail, the final season. Are you watching this, Raymond?
No, I can't really do much with Fairy Tail.
Me neither, but but it's popular though.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I had some. Popular. Yeah, that's it stayed the course. I remember, I was into it the very first volume because I remember going into a Barnes and Nobles probably this like maybe 2003 or no actually was it? Yeah, about 2003, and I went in there and I saw this.
11 then.
Yeah. It was a small section inside the bookstore at the time. It wasn't a real anime section, and I picked up Fairy Tail and I thought it was cool. So the first volume had me, but then I fell off along the way.
Yeah, again, I've never followed Fairy Tail. I do like Mashima. I actually like him quite a bit.
His art's cool.
Yeah, his art's cool. I mean, it's very Oda-esque. You got to kind of get past that if you are a purist or anything like that. But but I like his stuff. I just like his energy. I feel like as a creator, I don't know him. I've never met him. I don't know, frankly, that much about him. But there's something about him that strikes me as pretty cool. He seems where a lot of Japanese mangaka tend to be very reserved. He seems to be the opposite of that. He seems very open.
Kind of like Kubo. He's on social media and everything. And
yeah, exactly. Right. Yes, exactly. He's very communicative. He's got Fairy Tail is being spun off. Another creator is handling it. I mean, it's like he's like an American creator. He's like, wait, tell me, I'm making money on Fairy Tail. Why would I stop? So,
right.
Like I don't have to draw it, but why would I stop? Hell, if I'm making cash, let's make that cash money. So
I don't understand why more of them don't do that. That's kind of insane to me. But I mean, I guess I don't know.
I think more and more of them are thinking that. You've seen that now with Shaman King is continuing on. Dragon Ball has continued. Yeah, Naruto obviously the big one, but yeah, you're seeing more and more of them saying, hey, I don't care if I'm not drawing. Continue. What the hell? I mean, it's gonna still make money. Print that baby.
Yeah,
it's like I can respect that.
I wish Togashi would take that mindset.
A lot of people have said that. A lot of people, that's one thing about forums. If you go on any of these manga forums, which I go to them, I like to get information on them and stuff, but I always find them fascinating because you get a lot of these young, because they're young. You get a lot of young people on these forums, and they are, they're hell bent on telling you about manga. Telling you kind of like having this vision of manga that doesn't come from any professional understanding of it. They don't know anyone at Viz, know anyone at Shueisha. They're just giving their thoughts, but they're giving their thoughts as if it's fact, and so that part's a little frustrating. And obviously, they also have this purity test about manga, which is always very funny to me. But regardless, I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like, a lot of these young people, that's one thing I have been surprised about in the forums is that they have come out and said that as well. They've been like, dude, because again, these are kids who aren't Japanese, but they're purists. And I say that in quotation mark, but they've been like, man, for God's sake, hire somebody and do more Hunter x Hunter. Like, it's ridiculous that Hunter x Hunter keeps getting start, stop, because the creator just doesn't want to do anymore right at that moment. And that's a very, Western view of comics,
Yeah.
That's a very Western view of comics.
I mean,
the idea that like you would have a
popular
series. Yeah, exactly. Right. The idea you'd have a popular series that wouldn't continue because the creator's like, it's my art. I don't want to do any more right now. I want to play video games or my back hurts.
In a way, the anime is an example of it. I mean, it's not like, it's a whole staff of writers. There's a new character design artist. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that go into turning a manga into an anime, and it's not far off from, getting somebody to write the series again.
Yeah, agreed. So totally agree. So let's talk about Goblin Slayer then. This series, I found this series. So you saw the anime?
Yeah.
Have you seen all the episodes?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I saw the anime, and it made me. I went and picked up the first volume on the digitally, whatever you call it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. So I saw the anime. I'm ahead in the manga. So I'm looking forward to it where the anime goes, because I guess the first episode, I mean, I could definitely see where the controversy lied. For one, it was censored heavily compared to the manga, even as bad as the anime was.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah, I've heard this. So if you guys are following along, if you're watching this, you don't know what we're talking about. So Goblin Slayer is kind of like the new buzziest anime currently out on the fall side, and the series is very disturbing. I think it's fair to say. Now let me also just give some quick asides here. I am 44 years old, so Frederick Jones, founder of Saturday AM. I'm 44, so I am, by some of you guys' standards, I am ancient. Raymond is 34, right? 33, 34? Raymond?
Sorry. I had to text my wife. I'm up 36. I'll be 36. No, sorry. I'll be 36. I'll be 36 in a few days.
Okay, so 36. So Raymond is 36. So we're older, right? We're older than many of the folks who are checking out. And some of the folks I know who are on this live chat, you're much younger than we are. And most of the people on Saturday AM, like White Manga, them are like 20. They're like 20 whole years younger than me, 22, 23 years younger than me. That being said, so there's stuff. I don't know. For me, I found this a little disturbing, Raymond. First of all, let me say, I can totally see how this could be a massive series with younger people, but the scene with the goblin baby is really disturbing. I have to admit, it really bothered me.
Well, I'll take it back. Like I said, when I first, this is the anime I grew up off of. Like I remember going to Blockbuster and renting like stuff like Berserk. But no, even further than that, like Ninja Scroll. They had a rape scene in it. Yeah. You had what else? Yeah. Tokyo. You had what's it? Metropolis City, Tokyo, something like that. Yeah.
Mega City.
Akira. Yeah, like this was the norm. Like this is the way anime used to kick off. That's right. So it wasn't that off to me. I mean, I can see definitely why. I mean, especially in the day and age that we're in now, I think that has a lot to play in it, because you just don't see that, right? You don't see that in anime like that, especially particularly the rape scene. But what I think, honestly, I think this could probably be the next Attack on Titan hear me out. Hear me. If they were to actually get rid of some of the anime tropes they have in it, because like there's a lot of tropey stuff.
That's the problem. That's what disturbed me. That is what disturbed me. So I'm with you about the nature of anime, where anime has always been violent. It's always and I've said this before. If you guys ever listen to the interviews, the few interviews that people have asked me to do, because for whatever reason I am deemed controversial, I imagine, because I know IGN and Crunchyroll have not contacted Saturday M yet. But for whatever reason, when you do hear me on interviews, though, I've been interviewed by some folks like Jonathan Soul and Anime 3000, people like that. When you hear me do an interview, I've talked a lot about how anime has changed over the decades. Being in my 40s and also being into anime long before there was a Cartoon Network and stuff, I was into anime where people had to actually go to Japan, put as much anime on a VHS tape that I gave them, and then come back, and if I paid the money, I would get the anime. That's how anime was done, old school. So I get it. And I've said this before in these interviews, that I think one of the reasons I always compare anime and manga to hip hop is that hip hop, when you listen to hip hop, one thing that's always fascinating to me about hip hop, and Raymond is also African American. I'm African American. Raymond's African American. So I'm sure I'll be curious to get his view about this. But Raymond, you know who the biggest fans of hip hop are, right? You know who supports hip hop more than anybody else. You know the answer to this?
Teenage white kids?
Teenage white kids, exactly. Not teenage black kids, teenage white kids. I think that will shock a lot of people. It shouldn't. Mm-hmm. It's been like that literally for a long time. But if you didn't have the young white kid whose parents have a lot of money, driving down the street in his dad's BMW, blasting hip hop out. Fuck the police, this and that. If you didn't have that, hip hop would not be where it's at today. And so I think one of the reasons that I think that young white kids love hip hop is because it is so tremendously different than what their parents listen to. It is that rebellion music. And from that, and that's how rock and roll was back in the 50s, right? If you were, a kid and Elvis Presley came on, your parents hated it, but you loved Elvis Presley because he was, he's speaking to the streets, to the degree to which he was speaking to the streets was in the 50s. So I think that you've got that. And so I think anime and manga, I've said this before, I think anime and manga is the same thing. I think when young people get into anime and manga, it's because it is so shockingly different than anything they've seen before. And that's what breeds sometimes this thought where you get, again, like these kids on some of the forums, where you get young people who'll be screaming about what's real anime and what's real manga. And someone who's been to Japan like myself, who's dealt with the Japanese, I can't help but laugh. I'm thinking to myself, like, there's a lot of manga that is absolute crap. There's a lot of anime that's just crap. The only reason it even gets half the buzz it gets is because it's violent. A woman will have to show her breasts at some point through it, and it's titillating to a lot of young boys. But the idea that somehow we're talking about, stuff, material sometimes that is as quality as some young people would like to believe just because it's shocking to them is ridiculous. Like, it's just shocking. That's all it is. And so from that standpoint, it is interesting to me with this that, like you said, we're in a different era today. We are more aware of other people. We're more aware of respect and respecting, a lot of other types of groups and individuals, and as it should be. And as a result of that, there is this fascinating piece of this where you have this anime work like Goblin Slayer, which raises some interesting questions, right? His whole speech about the Goblin babies and stuff, like that is a very fascist sort of view, right? We have to kill them before they become bad. Like the girl says, she's like you don't know they'll be bad. He's like, I do. And it's like, and you get to think yourself, you're like, does he? Like, I mean, you're left asking the questions of like, did he just run into a bad goblin? And of course, as an African American, yeah, I do have to go there and look at it and say, like, wait a minute. So like, this is how someone who would be quote unquote threatened by a young minority kid and choose to assault them because they felt threatened, not because that kid did anything, but because they fought this kid. And whatever they've seen on the news, especially Fox News, some of these alarmist stations and stuff, whatever they've seen or thought or been taught to think about another culture, another community, they then take that to mean that's how everybody is in that community. And therefore I'm going to, if I see one, I'm just going to obliterate them because I know they're a threat to me. And so, yes, as an older person of color, it did make me look at that and feel very uncomfortable. Yeah. I felt very uncomfortable by that. And then the problem is that, to your point, and I'm getting there, so then at a certain point you can go, okay, well, that's interesting. Maybe I'm overthinking this. I mean, it is a cartoon, for God's sake, yada, yada. The Japanese culturally are very different. So this to them is like it's an adult show, but it's not like, an adult show. This is meant for kids. Just it's more adult, more, it's over the top. But at the same time, or meant for older kids, you know what I mean? But that being said, though, then you go from that really dire nihilistic view, which maybe has a profound point later in the series. I don't know. I mean, for all I know, the guy's a damn goblin himself. So maybe there's some profound, like thought-provoking question that's going to be raised later in the show. Then we get the little bubble-headed character. And then in the next episode, you get to see her butt naked. And that's where I'm just like, okay, so this is tropes. Right. These are just standard manga tropes meant to titillate young boys. Want to see heads getting slopped off. They want to see strong men, and then they want to see some naked girls. We'll smash them all together. We have no intention of being serious. We have no intention of telling a profound story. We have no intention of being mature. We're just gonna, kind of be exploitive. And that's what it made me feel like. I'm not saying I'm right. I've not followed the light novels. I have not followed the manga, so I don't know. But I did feel with that first 2 episodes, I felt extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's I mean, I agree with you. It doesn't need it. That's the thing. It
Right.
doesn't need those. It doesn't need that. You know. And I'll say this too: somebody that's further ahead in it. You know, I won't spoil anything, but really, all the controversy, if I'm honest, is in the first episode.
Sure.
Because later, as it progresses, it gets more and more it gets more familiar to a fantasy story. You know, where
Yeah, I
the
saw
stuff
he
is
meet them
still
like a
there.
guild, right? Doesn't he like join like some other people?
Yeah, he gets some friends, and after I noticed when his friends join,
Mhm.
things tend to go. You know, the story goes a direction, and the some of the stuff that was in the first episode is not as pronounced in
Right.
the in the later stuff. But going back to what you said though, I think the beauty of Goblin Slayer is the fact that it causes this kind of discussion because you know because the thing is you can go either way, like when he killed those babies, when see what he did to the to some of the people that some of the other adventures and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and you get a sense of what he did to what Goblin Slayer himself actually experienced.
Mhm.
You can feel him. You can be like, you know what, I'd probably be a little salty too if these little things came and raped my family and killed all these people that I knew. But
Right.
but I think that's what's good about it, is that it actually is written in a way that it causes discussion, and that's why it's such a tragedy that they're because I feel like it's not doing anything different than we do over here in the West. As far as just competent storytelling.
Right.
But like I said, if they would just kind of cut those tropes out or slow down with them a little bit, I think the show doesn't need it. I think the show can breathe on its own with the characters that they introduce and the kind of the world that they have, because it also has kind of a sword art online type of feeling too, where you got the different ranks and
Mhm.
leveling up and stuff like that. So
Well, there's no question. I mean, so just to put a cap on it and move to the next episode. I mean, the next anime. There's no. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think though that the particular part you made towards the end, I think again that's kind of that's my feeling, is that if this is a normal and if this is a normal fantasy series, then the first episode which is literally just exploitive to try to get you to say, oh, it's gonna be crazy, it's gonna be different. No, it's
agreed.
not. It's actually just normal anime, right? It's like, but it certainly got you talking, right? Like
Yeah,
it certainly got people in to see it now all of a sudden, even though because if they market themselves as being a normal fantasy series, well, there's a ton of
a
those,
ton of them,
but
a million of them.
they were like, well, let's get really dark with this stuff, and let's really show this and show that, and then we'll go back to the normal stuff. So it's a question. It's a question as to what the intent is and what it could be, but definitely, Goblin Slayer is, it's a series that, like I said, I think I'm not going to spoil the list. You got to get issue 97 if you want to see our list of anime and what the rank was. It's in our top 10, but it might not be number one. But it definitely it's an interesting series to be sure. So anyway, so that's an interesting piece there. Let's see, another series that caused a lot of buzz, although not that much. I'm surprised. Is Radiant? Have you seen Radiant?
No, I haven't. I hadn't
No.
seen them yet.
I've not heard anyone who has. Like I've not heard. There was a
It's
lot of
quiet.
buzz about it before it came out
Right.
because obviously this is like the holy grail for everyone watching this show. Is and all of our followers and stuff, and there's a lot of our creators, right? This is the holy grail. You're not from Japan. You operate in the manga art style. You create a series that should be, as good as any other manga from Japan, and the Japanese actually like it. They publish it in Japan, and then they make an anime about it. Not an anime made in another country in the anime style, but an actual anime. The Japanese will make an anime of your property. This is the holy grail for the average anime fan. And where are we at? I do not know anybody who's talked about Radiant. Not one.
Yeah, I cheated and I read the first one on a scan later or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean it's just so much more of the same. Like it's
It does.
just
It seems generic as hell. People
and
talk about Black Clover, and
right.
when I saw this, I'm like, this just seems just like. To be honest with you, it seems kind of like Apple Black. But yeah.
Yeah, it has some cool looking characters and stuff like that. And
The guy can draw. Like they say, like
yeah,
Tony Valenti. Like
the
the guy.
setup is there. Yeah, like the setup is there. They introduce the characters, and everything's there. It's just it feels like it's just missing that one thing that kind of, I hate to say it, almost like something like Goblin Slayer, like something. Not saying it has to be that, but something to get people talking about. Like, oh crap, did you see that in the first episode? None of that. None of that with at least what I saw with this.
Another series that is getting buzz. I don't know if this will be the Yuri on Ice this year, but it's called Rascal. Damn it, I'm gonna forget the name. Rascal Likes Bunny Senpai. Let me see if I can find the exact name of this. I know the people in the chat are gonna go, "You dummy!" It's called Rascal. What is it? Rascal Bunny. Rascal does not. Are you ready for this title, Raymond? Because I doubt you've heard of it. Rascal does not dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Whoa. That's not a title. That's a paragraph. Good Lord.
Exactly. That's why that's gonna be the next thing. Like I said, one of the big things Saturday. I mean, I want us to have as many things that are like manga, but are ours. That are original concepts, diverse, characters and diverse creators. But I want to go from I want to have a mecha, I want to have a Death Note type, I want to have a sports series. By the way, we got some reveals we'll be doing later this episode. But But one other one I want to have though after I saw this is I want to have at least one new series that we produce at some point in our lifetime that's got a ridiculously impossible long name. like Bobby Booty Scratcher does Vegas.
The time I got turned into a slime and died and came back to life again, that's something else.
Wait, okay. By the way, that series I did not grab that series for this little slideshow, but that series is actually really good. Have you seen Overlord?
No, that was going to be one of the ones I was going to watch next.
You would like that. You would actually like Overlord, and this is like Overlord. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this though, because I recently saw the time I got turned into Yamcha, a reincarnated Yamcha. Is that the same guy?
I knew you would watch that. Yes, I knew you would watch that.
No, it was good though. It really was.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny how you remember a couple of years ago when Sword Art Online came out, and then there were like a lot of series that were exactly like it. And there's one called Log Horizon. Right, yep. There was another one called Rebirth or Re something. Re something.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, well, it's like so a genre explodes, and then like all of a sudden there's like 1,000 variants of that genre. Same thing happened, by the way, with Naruto. Naruto came out, a lot of things came out that were like Naruto. Well, including one from his brother. But anyway, so this the series you just talked about, the Yamcha thing, I'm not sure which one came first. Overlord certainly is one. It's on its third season, so maybe it was the first one. But the time I got reincarnated as slime, literally, is just like Overlord. It's just instead of it being a character who's like a bone soldier, whatever, he becomes a slime, but he also has to still struggle with the same ideas. The Yamcha is very similar, except obviously it's not a villain. He keeps being reincarnated as this like sub character in the Dragon Ball universe. There's another series with another kind of villain aspect to it, and I can't quite remember what it is. ReZero, that was the name of the other thing. But so this seems to be a trend. I don't know where it's going. I don't know if it'll flame out. But yeah, the Yamcha thing I had heard had become quite popular, and so we'll see. But yeah, this series right here is supposed to be pretty big. This series right here, like I said, I don't know if this will become Yuri on Ice levels, but it's like a little romance. It's got a little bit of supernatural stuff to it, and people seem to really be into Re-Life. Maybe I don't know what it's called, something. But anyways, this Rascal does not whatever the hell I just said does not. Rascal does not dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. This apparently is very, very popular. Is right. And then I'll say right now, my favorite series, hands down, is the one and only JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the new season. It is fantastic. To me, like, this is what manga does well. But the representation sucks in it. I don't see any black characters in it, and if you do, they're kind of weird. There's nothing really heroic or interesting about them. But regardless, Araki Sensei is an amazing senpai sensei, however you want to say it. I want to give him an honorific. He's a very, very fantastic, legendary creator. Araki is a master, There's so much about Araki. I think the thing about Araki that just makes you love him even more is that literally nothing he does should work. His stories are ridiculous. The
Insane.
characters in the character costumes are nonsensical.
There's no way they could work in real life.
Not in real. They're homoerotic. It's like they're just straight up like it's like he saw Queen. Freddie Mercury's Queen is like, I want every character like this, but I'll make them the most masculine characters you've ever seen.
That's the crazy part about it. Yeah.
And the powers don't make a lot of sense, and then the plots, just genuinely kind of get into weird territories. That being said, I love JoJo's. I've loved JoJo since the mid '90s when I first discovered it. And I'm just a massive JoJo's fan, and so this series has not let me down. It is literally terrific. One of my favorite series of the season. So JoJo's is the bomb. It's really good. Have you seen this new season?
Yeah, I'm actually building. I'm letting them build up a little bit before I watch it because I'm really looking forward to watching this one. In the meantime, I'm finishing up 4 again. I watched 4, but I fell off towards the middle. So I decided to go ahead and give another watch.
Kira? So you got to the part with Kira or no?
Yeah. I'm at the part where they're about to wrap up things with him, and but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It does shift. It goes into a different direction at one point with him. So I don't know how many episodes you got left, but there is a twist to it. But it's really good.
Yeah, I'm past the twist. Yep, I'm past the twist. Yep.
Oh, okay.
It's weird. I've been on this. It's weird. I've been on this Araki kick for like the last month. I'm reading this little book. His book that he has out.
Yeah.
I'm reading that, and I don't know. I mean, just reading his book. I mean, he. What's cool about him, you know how we always talk about, when people want to write a manga and they hadn't really lived life yet. Yep. This man is. You can tell this man has been around. Like this man, right. He's been around. He's old. I mean, the guy's. I don't know how old he is, but I mean, he's up there, and you can tell from everything he does, from the little details in his story that he's been places and he's observed things, and he always tries to squeeze that into the story wherever he can. Mm-hmm. So it's always just fun to watch his stuff where he's like, man, okay, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. There was actually a scene, I don't know if you remember it, but in part 2 of JoJo, where they introduced Joseph Joestar's I guess kind of sidekick, the black dude.
Yeah,
remember him?
I do remember him. Yes, his name was Smokey.
Yeah, they touched. That was probably the first anime I think ever that just touched on what it was like back then, the racism. Yeah, right. I mean it was quick, but it was still a nod.
Quick. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna be giving NAACP awards to Iraqi, but yeah. Yes, he does have diverse casts. Not as diverse as I think it could be, but he does have some diverse casts. I mean, this series, this latest one takes place in Italy, so I mean, take it for what it's worth. But yeah, it's interesting. It's like I said, I'm just a huge fan of his. By the way, he's 58 years old, and 58. The book you're talking about, for those of you guys who want to know what Raymond's talking about, and I highly recommend it. By the way, if you're someone who wants to make manga and you love just the manga style, you should check out Manga in Theory and Practice: The Craft of Creating Manga by Hirohiko Araki. He gets into a lot of stuff, including one of the things about manga that's different from America or Western societies is they have a process. It's a 4-step storytelling process. So in America, or Western society, we have this 3-step process. There's kind of like the setup, there's the twist, and then there's the resolution. That's what most good fiction, whether it's TV, movies, comic books, if it's Western, that's kind of the structure. In Japan, it's actually a four structure. It's not 3, it's 4 steps. And so it's interesting. And you can pick up some of that in this book. But anyways, Araki is the man. Definitely JoJo's well worth checking out. One of my other favorite series, by the way, I just have to give a quick shout, is Golden Kamuy. If you're not watching this, then I don't know what's wrong with you. Golden Kamuy is amazing. Sugimoto, the Immortal, is awesome. The Escape King is awesome. Asurpa, the little girl who's far smarter than people know, is awesome. Really, really great series. Bizarre as hell. Have you ever seen this, Raymond?
Yeah. I watched the show. I watched the show because of what's her name, the little girl?
Asurpa.
Yeah, she's the only reason I watch the show. To be honest, I just love her
What?
character.
Sakamoto's Immortal's the man. He is the
No, I
man.
mean he's all right.
He
He's
is
all right.
the
I
man.
can't get with the thief. He gets on my nerves too much.
Oh my
But
God!
that
Oh,
little
right.
girl is off the that
He's
little
awesome.
girl
Yeah.
and
Little girl's awesome.
with my man with the knot on his head. You know what I'm talking about with the mustache?
Yes.
Those are my two favorite characters,
What
hands down.
she calls Dick Son. Yeah.
Yeah, Dick Son. Oh
Yeah.
my god, that last scene where she's like, Dick Son.
Yeah,
Man, I died, man.
did you see the episode? It is incredibly funny. Did you see the episode where where Sugimoto? Well, awesome episode by the way. They just show how awesome Sugimoto is. But there's a guy who wants to kill Sugimoto because he likes to kill people. Did you see that episode where they're trapped in like this fishing village and the guy like and every time the guy. That's right. That's just so every time he thinks of killing him or getting killed, he gets an erection. That was great. That is so good. Oh my God, man! I would kill to have a series like that. Oh my God, that is such a good series. All right, so folks, we're gonna talk about Stan Lee now. But before we do that, I want to take a moment and just tell you about what we got going on with Saturday AM. First things first, we are on our road to 100, and you're gonna ask, well, what is Road to 100? Road to 100 is our official countdown to our 100th issue. It began several weeks ago, and basically we began it with issue 91, and we're just counting down. Obviously, it's a lot of work for us to get these issues out, but we are so proud of the effort that we've done. So you can see right here, we've got the cover for issue 91 with Saturday AM. This has Master Multiplayer with the Ghosts in it. These covers have been corrected for Instagram story mode. That's why it looks a little thin. Obviously, so don't get discouraged. Our work does not look this thin, but you can just see here as we kind of go through the last several issues that we are really on a mission to hit our 100th issue in style. We're bringing our biggest, baddest, fantastic, best creators. The first cover 91 was by Oscar Fong. He's the artist we discovered out of New Zealand, doing Mastery Multiplayer of the Ghost, one of our major series. The cover for issue 92 is by the one and only Jay Oden, one of our absolute best new creators. He's the creator of Hammer. You can see a beautiful cover there. Issue 93. This has a variety of characters in it. It's actually illustrated by the crazy man. No, I'm sorry. No, it doesn't. This issue 93 is different. Issue 93 is by Blake Showers. Now, if you guys are not following Blake Showers, trust me, you want to. If you love hip hop at all, Blake is really cool. A lot of hip hop artists. He does a lot of cool artwork for hip hop artists, particularly around the United States, but particularly in the Philly area. But we just debuted a new series for him. The next chapter of it comes out in issue 98. It's called Tortuga Force 5. And imagine having a very diverse cast for Mighty Morphin, like a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers type show or Super Sentai show. I know those characters are diverse, but in quotes, because it's a kids show. This isn't a kids show. This is kind of like a standard indie. It's very kind of sarcastic and funny, but very, very cool. Tortuga Force 5, great kind of graffiti style artwork by the one and only Blake Showers. Issue 94 features lots of characters on it. It's illustrated by the man on the call with me today, Mr. Raymond Brown. It's actually drawn by the three different artists. It's got Raymond Brown's character, Isao from Bully Eater, one of our first core series that we launched Saturday AM with. It's also got the excellent Dante from Soul Beat by Morgan Walker. He's the character with the gigantic afro. And then it also has in there the really cool Rivet, kind of classic spiky hair character from the series Paradise Down. That's by Jamie Molina. Paradise Down will have a volume 1 coming this year. So amongst everything else we'll be doing, you'll also be getting a volume 1, a very big series for us. Bully Eater volume 2 is coming early next year, Raymond?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the most kind of semi-convincing, like, sure.
Sorry, I had a hot dog in my mouth. Sorry. But yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Next year, still working on page now. Early next year. It's gonna be cool.
All right. So then issue 95 featured the return of one of our other co-founders, Mr. White Manga. Have you guys not seen the latest installment of Apple Black? It's in issue 95. Apple Black will be returning for our last couple of issues of the year. So you definitely want to check that out. But Apple Black, brand new, Apple Black, kicking off Volume 3 in this issue, issue 95. Check it out. You can find it on our website. Issue 96 featured the return of Saigami by Andrea Voros, another beautiful cover by one of our top artists. If you're not reading Saigami, you're missing out. It's kind of a little bit a cross between Legend of Korra. Really, really cool series. Gorgeous artwork. This series is really starting to heat up, so you can get the latest installment of Saigami in issue number 96. Saigami returned, I believe, in issue 98, but don't hold me to that yet. I'm not sure. And then in issue 97, which just came out literally a day ago, you've got several great series in this issue, because every issue has 3 to 4 to 5 of our series inside of it. So you're not just getting Saigami, if that's on the cover, you're getting other series as well. Paradise Down, for example, is in issue 96. Issue 97 has Comet Man. First time it's on the cover. Very, very cool. So you're getting Comet Man, and which is a really cool character. And this cover, by the way, anybody know what this cover is like? Does anyone know? Anyone know where this cover comes from? This is Raymond. This cover. Did you see? When you saw the cover? What did you think of this?
And I can't say anything it comes from, but I mean, I was just talking to him the other day about it. I love his if you notice with all his colored pieces, he puts this kind of filter on it to make it look like an old comic book that you just found. And I love it. I love the cover. Really cool.
So if you guys go back, in fact, I need to probably make a blog post of this, but this cover is actually an homage to the cover from X-Men issue number 101, which is the first appearance of the Phoenix. And so actually emerges from the water just like this, where Sano is, that's Cyclops. Isao, I think, is Colossus. I believe that's Wolverine is where Cass is from Clock Striker. And Saigami's in the background there. But yeah, this is all literally just like the X-Men cover, just with our characters placed into it. Really cool cover, really cool setup. Comet Man is a great, fun, all ages series. It's not meant to be this hardcore dour series. It's fun. It reminds you of old superhero comic books from the 60s and 70s. So we're really proud to have Frederick Ward working on the series with us. Great series. Now, that is Saturday AM. You guys may not realize this, but we make a magazine called Saturday PM. Saturday PM is if Saturday AM is Shonen manga, meaning that it's built for young kids, 13 to 18 years old. Now, obviously, you don't have to be any age or Dragon Ball, so it's all age. But the predominant audience is meant to really appeal to younger readers. Well, then Saturday PM, get it? Saturday AM, Saturday PM is meant for older readers. As I talked about earlier, Goblin Slayer. What I'm not interested in with Saturday PM is nudity and violence for the sake of nudity and violence. I'm interested in Saturday PM precisely for aggressive, mature storytelling. So we want to have sexual content or violent content or what have you, because the characters are more mature, the situations are more mature, but we want them to behave like real people. So we want this to feel more like HBO and not like your standard Japanese anime. We want the characters to have real emotions and not just get a nosebleed because a girl's panties are showing. So we're really excited about Saturday PM. It's going to take us a while to get it to where we wanted to, but right now it's really hitting on all cylinders. One big reason, obviously, it does have nudity, it does have violence, it does have all this cool stuff. Black Samurai is a new series that just debuted in this issue. But folks, Saturday PM has two things that I think are going to really appeal to you. First of all, did you know that White Manga, creator of Apple Black, is also a contributor to Saturday PM? His first new manga that he's developed outside of Saturday AM, or outside of anywhere, outside of Apple Black, is called Bakassi, and it features a black lead character. It has themes that are based on Nigerian culture and mythology, which is what White Manga Dunze is from, and of course it features that trademark, incredible, awesome artwork by the one and only White Manga. Folks, if you haven't checked out Saturday PM, you really, really, really should. Bakassi is hotness, and it appears in and will continue to appear in select issues of Saturday PM alongside of Black Samurai and some of our other series. So in this issue, issue 3, which is out now, you can get it right now. One of the other things that debuted is a brand new series called Project Divider. And folks, believe me when I tell you that we have found our next white manga. It is the brothers Mitch and Kyle Lucas from Canada, and Project Divider is going to be gigantic. You get a sneak peek in issue 3. You also get these guys, a lot of pages from the comic. You get an interview with these guys. You get some character designs from these guys. But this is going to be a huge series. We've been talking with them for quite a while, and we're all set to unveil these guys officially, both on the cover and inside of the magazine in issue number 4 of Saturday PM, which will come out before the end of the year. So we're really excited about the future direction of Saturday PM. Again, it's going to take some time to get to Saturday AM. It took us a while to make Saturday AM as strong as we thought. Saturday PM will not take that long, but Saturday PM absolutely is in really good hands right now with some amazing top-tier creators. And there's no question we intend to get more top creators in here. We're expecting to get more independent top creators to join Saturday PM. So expect some announcements on that over the next few months, because it's going to blow your mind where we intend to go on Saturday PM. And definitely something that if you support independent comics, you want to get on the ground floor of that. A couple things I can say is that we're continuing to do some big things on our website. If you haven't subscribed to Saturday AM, you can do so. You can now do so on our website. Now we have the subscriptions traditionally through Gumroad. That will continue, but starting later today, you will be able to subscribe directly on our website. That means the money's coming directly to us. That means that we have more controls that we can do. We can provide discounts and codes that you can use in our store as soon as you subscribe. So you get $5 subscription that continues with Saturday AM. And it's really, really fun. It's really cool stuff there. And, it's good stuff to look at. But then you've got other stuff as well. You got some other cool stuff. Also, you've got, 20 issues a year of Saturday AM. And then with Saturday PM, with our premium subscription, you'll be able to get a lot of titles. So you get discounts on shirts, prints, our tanks, all on our website. But you're also going to get Saturday AM and Saturday PM and some other cool things. So we're going to be having the subscriptions again on our website directly. You'll be able to interact with it directly. So we're really excited about that. And we're looking forward to having the subscriptions in-house, being able to do more, tying it in with our fan base. If you're a fan of, for example, of Saigami or Apple Black, and you're a subscriber, then we'll be able to tag that. We can't do that via Gumroad. We can tag that on our site now, and we can push offers to you. Maybe there's a new Saigami t-shirt that comes out. We know you're a fan. We can say, hey, here's a discount. You can go ahead and get the Saigami t-shirt or print or what have you. And that continues to help us build our company and help the creators build the revenues that they want to generate. And so we're really excited about this. Again, this will be live later today on our website. You'll be able to take advantage of the subscriptions directly on our site. If you are a Kickstarter backer, you'll be giving subscriptions tonight, possibly tomorrow, depending on how this technology works out. But we're going to be giving out free subscriptions all the way through. So no matter what level you backed us, we're going to be giving you a free subscription because we just wanted to say thank you so much for supporting us. We'll also be getting you the digital wallpaper today as well. So big stuff there. Let's shift gears now, and let's talk about the one and only Stan Lee. Stan Lee, the creator of Marvel Comics, modern superhero comics as we know them, passed yesterday. He was 95 years old. His wife, the beautiful Joan Lee, who he was married to for 60 plus years, she passed, I believe, a year ago. And so this really amazing man, I think, touched everybody. I was telling people in our internal chat, we have an internal website or intranet for Saturday AM where all of our creators and staff associate and gather. And I was telling them the other day when someone posted about this, I said, I didn't expect this to touch me as much as it did, but it really did touch me. When you get to be in your 40s, folks, I can tell you right now, you'll have friends and family who pass away unexpectedly. The older you get, people start dropping, sad to say. And so it's always a shock. You get somewhat numb to it, but this really caught up to me. I'm not a particularly overly sympathetic guy, but being someone who loves business, being someone who loves comic books, I look at Stan Lee as just a really extraordinary figure. Not because he created all these characters, in which case we all know that he didn't actually create all these characters. He participated in creating these characters with other people like Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and so on. But my heart is really was in pain because of I just think the way he was able to create content and what he stood for in terms of creating content, and then the joy that he brought to comic books. You know, you never saw this man not smiling, and as someone who, you know, is always trying to be positive, even though sometimes it's very difficult. You know, I can respect the hell out of that. It really touched me. I must say I was quite gutted by the loss of this man, and I've survived the death of people that I was a huge fan of, like Prince and Michael Jackson and other celebrities that I grew up with as a kid. But this one was really personal to me. Raymond, what did you make of Stan Lee?
Yeah, I mean everything you said. I mean he was I remember seeing an interview where he was supposed to show to a comic store in Toronto, and he literally called the guys up and said, "Hey, man, I am feeling horrible, and I don't want to see people. I don't want people to see me like this." Mm-hmm. And you know, and it made me think that, you know, it's one of those things where he was so you know, he wanted to keep that positive, that joy, that energy going. That, you know, that he even he wouldn't let people see him, you know, certain ways. He wanted people to always see him with that smile on his face, and I can respect that. Mm-hmm. But you know what I think about him. I mean, I just you know, I just love the way he brings fun to, you know, wherever he's at, to the comics that, you know, that he had a hand in creating, and, you know, it's inspiration to me because that's kind of the same thing I want to do with, you know, my series. And there's a lot of the Saturday M series as well that are, you know, that are just fun. You know, they're just meant to just you know, not take that stuff too seriously, you know, let you escape for a little bit and just really be about fun. And every time I see him, you know, see him in interviews and, you know, and different things like that, I mean, it kind of reminds me that, you know, as stressful as doing this thing can be, you know, where you start worrying about how popular you are, or, you know, social media stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, at the end of the day, you know, you should get joy out of doing this stuff, you know, and he reminds me of that whenever I see him.
Yeah, I think, you know, so yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. I think, so a couple of things, again, to bring this back to the pub talk aspect of this. One of the things that I think, you know, I said this in a tweet yesterday, but I think, so you know, people ask all the time, like, why I decided to start Saturday. I get this question from folks even who are, you know, who could care less about manga, just people that I know, you know, adults, frankly, people, professionals, and they'll be like, you know, so why did you decide to do this? And they'll say, you know, like, well, you know, I'll tell them that, you know, the thing for me was that, you know, like, you know, it's a business. You know, I care about business first and foremost. You know, I mean, you know, I'll try to have a successful business, even if the business is, you know, selling diapers. You know, I'm going to try to, you know, I would try to make a success no matter what I do. But with this, you know, Stan Lee in the 60s, Marvel Comics was a really interesting place, because when he created Fantastic Four, it came at a time where in America, the comic industry was under assault. We had the Seduction of the Innocent, which was a famous report that came out of McCarthy era Congress. And the idea was that comic books were harmful. They were, if you guys are familiar with the company called EC Comics, they were like the great comic publisher that rivaled Marvel and DC and those guys. And they made comic books that were like crime comic books or horror comic books. They showed a lot of graphic violence back in that day. And so they're an interesting group, company, but they ran afoul of government. It became a scapegoat for politicians. We see the same thing happening today with scapegoating people, but it became the scapegoat where they blame comics for disrupting and hurting young men because they got influenced by this stuff, and they try to throw it on the bus. Stan Lee, you know, was going to quit comics because he was being forced. At that period, all the companies were forced to make really kind of soapy, silly comic books. So they have Western comic books, you know, a lot of licensed comic books like Lost in Space and, you know, Bob Hope comics, stuff like that. Disney became very prominent during this era with Carl Barks doing Donald Duck. A lot of the stuff that you're watching today on like DuckTales and stuff came from that era. So Stan Lee, you know, there's a couple of things about Stan Lee. First of all, do not shed crocodile tears for Stan Lee. Stan Lee was someone that got into comic books because his his brother-in-law, I think it was his brother-in-law, owned Marvel Comics. I don't know if people know this, but Stan Lee did not get the job because he was the most talented person. He got it because basically he was running the company for his brother and our brother-in-law. And so he did it, or you know, he was. I mean, he was connected to the guy, so my cousin, brother, something like that. And Stan Goodman was his name. And you know, Stanley gets a job. He's kind of like running. He's kind of like running it, running interference for Mr. Goodman, and doing all those various things. He had to, you know, fire people, hire people. You know, so he was in control, even though he really wasn't. But he had a job, right? He had a job as long as he did what this person said. He had a job. That's not true of most of us, right? Most of us don't get that opportunity to be given a chance to work in a comic book company. So again, that's why I say, like, there's a lot of things in life where you learn that even the best people sometimes don't have the most, you know, handsome story. You know, Steve Jobs, you know, has stories that are that depict him in a more real way, as opposed to the fantasy sometimes we have. And I love Steve Jobs, but that was Stan Lee's deal. Now, in the 60s, late 50s, 60s, when all this stuff was going on, he was getting very frustrated because now, you know, he was having to write a lot of stuff he didn't believe. He was having to do things he didn't want to do. And so what ended up happening is his wife, Joan, the beautiful Joan Lee, said to him, well, why don't you just quit? And he's like, well, you know, he couldn't just leave his relative in the lurch like that, but he was ready to pretty much quit. So he had to produce a comic book. He had to fill a comic book story for one of these magazines and one of the comic periodicals. And he had this idea for the Fantastic Four. And she was like, well, just tell the story that you want to tell. Don't worry about this. Because he wanted to do a story, you know, all the characters were teenagers. He wanted to do a story that people were older. He just wanted to do various stuff. So he created the Fantastic Four. And of course, it goes on to become the foundation of the Marvel Comics universe, including then obviously, of course, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Hulk. And he creates these characters with other people. Again, Stan Lee has been criticized for getting a lot of the press. The fact of the matter is that Jack Kirby did not die with the reverence and the support and the global tears being shed for him, even though he was as much critical to the birth of the Marvel Universe as we know today, including things like Black Panther, as Stan Lee was. But Stan Lee, you know, was a showman. He was very well spoken. You know, the artists were kind of the grunts, and Stan Lee was a showman. I'm always cognizant of things like this because I don't want to be that guy. As much as I love Stan Lee, I don't want to be the showman. I want, you know, I'd rather all of our creators to get that sort of space. But I do love that from the business standpoint, Stan Lee was able to create something that generation of young people and define it for decades. Now, to me, I think that's one of the biggest things about it. He also had the company structured in a way that the creators all got to work together. And I think right now comic books are so weird because the creators don't get to interact with each other. So I always try to foster that connection between our creators. So Stan Lee for me means all these various things: the good, the bad, the business side of things. You know, the lots of pieces of it kind of speak to me about Stan Lee. But Raymond, do you with you, do you feel like when did you first discover who Stan Lee was? Do you remember, or did you always know who he was?
I mean, I remember seeing him in the back in the good old days, I guess, where, you know, they used to have the little thing in the back of the comic books, you know, like from Stan Lee. His little newsletter. But I mean, he was just some old dude to me at the time, so I didn't really care. But you know, I've heard the name as I've grown, and it's one of those things where I guess my respect for what he's done, you know, didn't really come until I got older. Honestly, until I started really, you know, doing comics myself and just seeing, you know, that, you know, the work that goes into making content really in general, you know, for entertainment purposes. I mean, it's, you know, I got to commend the man for, you know, he knows how to build a brand. God knows. I mean, it's insane. But one thing I wanted to touch on is just like we were talking about in the beginning of the call about how you got to put in the time and the work. And it's hard for probably anybody, you know, in their 20s to believe, but, you know, Iron Man and Captain America and Thor, they were nothing when I was coming up. Like they meant nothing. Like it was all about the X-Men. It was all about the X-Men. And it's something how things change that, you know, over time where it becomes the norm, you know, where, you know, he was Stan Lee was just like any one of us as far as trying to, you know, build his brand, you know, build his business and things like that. And you fast forward to today, it seems like commonplace. Like Marvel, of course, there's Marvel. You know, Marvel never had any problems. You know, so but that's but like you said, it goes back to that perception. Where you don't always get you get the pretty stuff, but you don't always get what it took to get there.
Yeah, exactly. And as I've said this to my guys frequently, but to Raymond and White and Andrea and Jay and stuff. But one of the things I say to them is that a lot of times you don't want to know where the sausage is made or how the sausage is made. You like to eat sausage, you like to eat hot dogs. You don't want to know what goes into doing it. And the same thing is true of comics. The stuff that we go through with Saturday AM and Saturday PM is it's not for everybody. There are a lot of people on this chat who would love to join us, and I tell them all the time, like, this might not be for you because it's not easy. It's hard work. It's brutal sometimes. The stuff you have to sacrifice is never fair. The coverage we get is laughable. It's brutal, but at the same time, that's what goes into making some great issues. I saw somebody earlier say we've been killing these last couple of issues, and I totally agree. But what goes into getting making those issues happen is a lot of headache. It's a lot of high blood pressure.
Hypertension.
Yes, exactly. So with that being said, I think the key thing I would just say is that for me again, the thing with Stan Lee really hit me just because. I admire him. I admire him for building a brand. I admire him for having a beautiful wife who supported him. I admire him for building what he called the famous Marvel bullpen, having creators all associate with each other. I admire him for creating all these wonderful IP that have lasted, that were unique and different. They certainly weren't Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And for decades, they were always behind Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And now, thanks to Kevin Feige and the success of the movies, these characters really matter today, and they were created back in the 60s. So, hats off to Stan Lee. I'm going to miss him. Like I said, positive ambassador of comics. Whether he created comics or not, Stan Lee stood for what you all stand for what we stand for. And that, to me, I'm going to definitely miss that guy. Even though I didn't personally know him, I'm in awe as a creator and as a business person. I'm in awe of this great man.
Same here.
All right, well, folks, we're towards the end. What we want to do is open it up now for the next 15 minutes or so for any questions you guys might have. I'm going to leave this awesome image of Stan Lee up on the screen because, like I said, I don't think any best can be said about Stan Lee than this image right here, just showing the impact this man has had in stuff that we all love. I mean, for us, right, Raymond will tell you, I often talk about sports. I compare comic books to sports. At least the way I run Saturday AM, I compare it to sports. And I talk about how white manga is our Lionel Messi or our LeBron James, and yada, yada. And so, so I always put how I run the company in terms of sports terms. And it goes right over their heads because, like Raymond, most of our guys are not actually into sports. Maybe you guys aren't in sports either. But I do look at Stan Lee as being like, he is like the Bob Cousy or the Michael Jordan. He's like the figure for comic book fans, no matter what you support, whether you support indie comics, manga, superhero comics, The Walking Dead, whatever. Stan Lee is like that figure that all of us look up to because he's like literally is the most successful, the most iconic figure, the not deity, but he's like the thing that all of us can look to and have respect for. If everyone who plays basketball may not have ever seen Michael Jordan play, but they all know the greatness of Michael Jordan. And that's kind of the same way I feel about Stan Lee. He's an icon for anybody who wants to make comics. So with that being said, I know there's some questions you guys have. We'll open it up to questions now. And Raymond and I will try to get through some of these questions, and then we will call it a day on this episode of Pub Talk. I do have a couple of questions from Instagram, so I'm going to read those now. Someone named Alson Burns says, who is your youngest winner for the pilot contest? And my answer to that is I don't know. I don't think we ever. I guess it was Dan Tularchevek, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what I can think of. Back when we did pilot manga, because we don't do it anymore. But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, fun fact. We are, who was the oldest that we've ever run? 69-year-old woman.
Well, she wasn't in pilot manga though. Like this, I mean, she wasn't in pilot manga.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So,
that was Summer of
about,
Manga. That was Summer of Manga.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I think
Yeah,
the youngest one has to be Dan. I'm pretty sure Dan Talarchevik, creator of Crunch Time,
but he didn't really.
is.
He didn't run in pilot though.
I thought.
He went straight
I
to the,
thought.
he had his debut in Summer of Manga, or his first one, and then after that, I think he went straight to the magazine.
That's
I
folks.
think.
That's how old we are. Like, we can't remember. We can't remember stuff that we lived.
Sad.
I don't know. I'm sure Dan can tell us. I'm sure
Yeah.
Dan young enough to remember. Dan Talarchevik was one of the youngest people we ever brought into Saturday AM. He was 16 initially, and so that was that. Let's see. The other question I got here is from Quells RO, who says, if you're making manga, do you have to copyright each volume? If not, how does it work? You don't have to Well, first of all, copyright is not. I've talked about this before that and I've seen some. In fact, there was a person who used to be in Saturday AM who tried to go their own way, and then they hooked up with another company, and I'm not sure what they're doing now. Raymond knows what I'm talking about, but I remember that they had talked to their following that they have. They have made a comment how they got this property that they have, which they don't do anything with today, and they got it trademarked. They kept thinking like, wow, what a waste of $200, and what a waste to tell your people who follow you something that is completely unremarkable and unnecessary, right? Spending $200 on a trademark is ridiculous. Unless you're going to make that property happen one day, it is unnecessary. But hey, it is what it is. In the case of copyright, you don't need copyright. First of all, in America at least, copyright exists the minute that you publish something. And publishing it can mean websites like the Past Second Line Webtoon. It can mean obviously via Saturday AM. We give you copyright credit inside of each and every issue that you appear in. We have a legal page where we cite who owns what properties. So copyright is not something you have to pay for. It exists. It's there. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about those types of things. They're there. They'll be there. You can experience them in any given time. But the key thing you need to make sure of, though, is when you're creating content, is that you just create the content, you release it professionally. Again, whether it's a website, whether it's a magazine, whether you self-print it yourself, but make sure that you produce it yourself and get it on the marketplace. If you do that and you are clearly credited as such, either your name is on the cover or your name is in the article or what have you, then you essentially have a copyright. Someone can't just say they did what you did, right? You have legal backing, even though you didn't pay any legal money for it, to challenge anyone who would try to steal your idea. Trust me, happens in Hollywood all of the time. Someone says, a movie becomes super popular. Someone goes, I had that same idea, and I happened to mention it to this guy in passing when he was in line at Burger King, and I was leaving Burger King. I have to say, man, it'd be a great movie if dinosaurs broke loose and ate people, and then Jurassic Park comes out. Never minded the fact that it was actually created by Michael Crichton in a novel. But that happens all the time, and those lawsuits actually go through on a number of occasions. So you do not need to pay money for copyright. If you create something and you release it publicly in an official context and you are credited as such, you have, for all intents and purposes, a copyright. Now, if you do not continue to release material for that, and that means you're not really enforcing the copyright. And if someone takes your idea and you do not call that person out, either via email, text, a comment on their social media page, then your assumed copyright can be challenged because you've never actually fought for it if it's been in distress. But which you'd have to do, by the way, even if you paid money for a copyright. So trademarks are different from copyrights, to be clear. But the idea that at this point, when you're not making any money, you would pay for that stuff is pretty crazy. You got anything to add to that, Rim?
No, it makes sense.
Okay, so we got some questions here. VS Studio says, sorry. So he says he changed much of the comic industry from introducing flaws and hardships and heroes and heard of. So he's talking about Stan Lee. But yes, Stan Lee did it all. He did some amazing stuff. Let's see. Dragon Master says, what do you guys think is the most unique Saturday AM series? I know series get more original as they go on, but right now, what series do you think is the most original? Raymond, what series do you think is the most original amongst what we produced to Saturday AM?
Boy's always a favorite of mine.
Yeah,
Better
Boy.
Off Ignorant. They're doing really cool stuff. I like Comic Man as well too. Just you know, it's almost like whenever I see it, it makes me think of gosh, what's that cartoon? Fairy Odd Parents, but manga. You know,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So yeah, those are my two as far as like
That wouldn't be
doing things that are
original
different.
though. I don't think Comet Man would be considered like they're asking what's the most original, like what's the most unique.
Well, yeah, I would say boy for sure, but I
Yeah, better
mean,
off figure for sure. Yeah,
yeah, I mean that's really cool. It's almost like Gintama in a way, but you
definitely.
know,
But totally different and totally bizarre. Yeah, I would say Better Off Ignorance the most original. I mean, I would put Spoon as the most original. I've never seen someone. I don't think I've ever seen that concept. I mean, getting transformed into something for sure, but I've never seen that concept where someone gets transformed into a spoon and is turned into a kitchen. Like, I think that's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
yeah, that's new.
So, yeah, I mean, again, you've seen people get transformed into something for some evil curse. And they got to break the curse, but not that in particular. So, I think, yeah, Better Off Ignorant, Spoon. We have a title coming up. We have a title coming up called Tender Loving Punch, actually, and that is going to have a unique concept to it. I don't think I've told you about it, but the concept for that is actually myself and the creator finesse that, and I think it's pretty damn cool, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was gonna be big. That was good. I think that one could be pretty big. So
You know, one going throwback for a minute. You know, I did like I think we were doing some cool stuff with No to Heaven, especially
yeah,
for it being a shonen title.
yeah, yeah. I do think about No to Heaven a lot. So yeah, no. So yeah, so we got great series. I mean, all the series are unique. I mean, Apple Black has a uniqueness to it with the way the wands work. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I mean, it may exist. I don't think I've ever seen it before. There's something I'm going to talk to Raymond about with his series Bully Eater that I think is totally unique. I've never seen it before. And yeah. I mean, we published so many titles. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, all our series are different because they all are very different. So they're all unique, I think, in many ways. But yeah, I mean, that's probably the most original I would say for right now.
Hmm.
Okay, so Mutton Chop, you know him, Raymond.
Yeah.
Uh, Mutton Chop says Raymond.
Hmm. Dang, he said my name first.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, that's your name. Exactly.
boy. I feel like my
Raymond,
mom just called my whole full name.
yes, and knowing the way this young person talks, I can imagine, I can hear them saying these things, and it makes it funnier. But I'm not gonna do his voice. What's the biggest corner you've ever written yourself into, and how did you write yourself out of it? That's a good question.
Mm. In the beginning, when I did Bully Eater, I wanted to make him more in school. So I had to turn around and the direction I was going was completely taken away from school. It was going totally different place. So basically I just had to I hate to say it, I had to reboot it, to be honest with you, because it was just it's nothing I could have done to it to make it make sense in my mind, and felt good about it at the same time. So you know that's what I had to do. I wouldn't recommend anybody else do it because it's a lot of drawbacks to doing it, but you know that's what I had to do.
It hurts. It hurts, doesn't it?
It hurts a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
My soul is injured.
Okay, so Adam Songabele says, "Hi Frederick, just tune in to your live. Would you guys be interested in the comic book that combines supernatural and Sherlock Holmes?" We had so the artist Oscar Fong, the artist of Master Multiplayer of the Ghost, he did a series with us that kind of was that. Would you describe Remedium kind of like that?
Yeah, I could see where you would yeah, they would be tied. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had the series called Remedium Plus, and great series. Oscar Fong, again, the artist of that, now draws Master Multiplayer World of Ghosts. But it was monsters, and it dealt with exorcisms, and the guy was basically traveling and had to try to resolve these issues. Really fun series. I liked it a lot. I mean, look, bottom line is, yeah, I mean, we'd be interested, again, as I said before, many times before, we're really interested in getting stuff that we don't currently have, and that obviously sounds different. I mean, we'd love to get a mecha. We'd love to get something like sports oriented. We'd love to get all sorts of stuff. Death Note type series, I would die for that. I mean, I wouldn't die for that literally. I sacrifice Raymond, but
Wow.
But yeah. I mean, I guess we'd be into it, but this is not the format. I mean, like, we're not going to say, yeah, send it to us right now. Like, this is not the place. But yeah, we certainly be interested in any story that's good and has good artwork. John E says, "What are your favorite stories from books, manga, comics, movies?" Raymond, if you had to name one from each of those, just one, what would it be? What's your favorite book you've ever read, Raymond?
It was an ebook called Superpowers by Drew Hayes.
Mm. And here I was thinking you were going to say the Bible. Uh,
Well, that's not a book, it's a lifestyle.
let's see. Let's see. What's your favorite manga?
mm, Hunter Hunter.
Okay, I thought Dragon Ball was a lock for you. Comics. Deadpool.
Uh, Comics. That's a tough one. You know what? I'm gonna just say the first run of Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Okay. And then movies.
Movies. Mm, I got no answer for that one right now. I got a lot
Okay.
of them.
Yeah. So for me, on the book side, it would probably be. Well, I mean, I read a lot of nonfiction, so probably can't put that in there. I read nonfiction quite a lot, so I would say right now, I'm reading a book by. Uh, oh crap! I'm reading a couple of books actually. Gary Vaynerchuk. Reading Bob Woodward. So anyway, I read a lot of nonfiction. I'll just leave it at that. I read a lot of political nonfiction stuff. Manga, I'm reading my favorite. I think is my favorite manga out right now. I like Vinland Saga a great deal too. Both those are very addictive. I get a lot of enjoyment from those. I like Promise Neverland. I mean, they're favorites, but at the end of the day, I think Golden Kamuy is the one I'm going to probably appreciate the longest. I could see myself reading that over and over again because it's just really good, really in depth. Um, Comics, Legion of Superheroes, my hands down, my favorite comic book, hands down. Movies, that kind of comes and goes. I like a lot of the. I think there's a DC animated movie that continues to be my favorite animated movie, called Justice League Crisis. I think it's called Crisis on Infinite Earths or Crisis. Something Justice League Crisis, and it's basically about just they get sent to another planet where Lex Luthor, where all the villains are good guys and the superheroes are all bad guys in that world, and it's so well done. It's just so well done. Animation is beautiful. The acting is great. The ending sequence of Batman versus Owlman is amazing. It's just great. I mean, I've seen that movie probably, I don't know, 25 times. It's extraordinary. I love that movie. All right. So, Fi says Stanley was someone who accepted all culture, ripped the comic beast, aka Stan Lee. I think I agree with them. They said accepted wrong, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure I agree with them, but I think I do. Bunny says, "What advice would you have for someone who has a general story planned out but can't draw?" Raymond, what would you say to that?
Write the story. Write the story best your ability. And write it in such a way that maybe you don't find an artist right away. That doesn't mean you can't write it and turn it into like they have uh what do you call them, web serials for books.
Yep.
Same way they
Yep.
have web comics, they have where you can actually
Yeah, can you?
drop like a
So, you know,
chapter. Yeah, yeah, and just write it like that. Write it in such a way that you can present it, and even if you don't get an artist, and chances are if you do well with it, it'll be easier for you to find an artist because you actually got a track record.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, if you guys have followed me on these social media stuff, oh crap. Hold on, let me do something real quickly. I gotta get something done. Hold on one second. Getting someone yelling at me on my text message. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So yeah. So yeah, I think I've said this before, repeatedly. If you're a writer, you got to write. The idea of having an idea is meaningless. It really is. I mean, I hate to say it that way. I know some people, get bent out of shape when I talk seriously about these things, but to me, I respect you guys too much to try to lie to you, because what I'm saying is the truth. It's just the honest to God truth. Like you can't call yourself a writer, but you're waiting for an artist. If you're a writer, then you write. Turn it into a light novel, turn it into a novel, write the script, write articles. We had someone. This is a good example. I had someone write me. I was up late last night, again working on Saturday and stuff, and we had within a span of like, I don't know, 30 minutes. I got, because this happens more and more frequently. I got like 6 emails, 2 of them on Facebook, 1 on Instagram, and then 4 emails. We're actually split, 1 to 1 email account, and the others to some other email accounts that we have on Saturday AM, all hitting me up, and I think that it all wanted to work on Saturday AM. They're like, hey, I got an idea and I'd love to get in, blah blah blah. And I'm always humbled by these things. I think it's great that people love what we do and they want to join us and stuff. But at the same time, I'm also a 44-year-old man who has an extensive corporate career. I can't just look at, I'm not a fanboy. Like, I'm not doing this for kicks. So I think one of the reasons why, I'm always very direct with people is that, I come from an environment that is really hard to get into. You have to be really smart. You have to have background. You have to have success constantly. And the idea that you just are going to walk up to somebody and say, hey, how do I join y'all? This is crazy. Like, that's not real life, at least not where I come from. And so when you have that scenario and people write us like that, one guy wrote me, and his stuff, and all the notes were very polite, but one of the notes, like, he has no artists. He's just telling us how he's got this great idea. Can we find an artist and so forth? And look, you've got to be willing to do the work. You got to be willing to do the work, and that's what's frustrating. You've got to be willing to do the work. You've got to be willing to write stuff, get it in, make things happen, produce what you got to produce. Like, you've got to be willing to do the work, and so that's what makes it really tough. Is that I think sometimes people want things to happen easily and for free, but it shouldn't. It's just like, you have to put the work in. I mean, again, we're 5 years into this. So
I
anyway,
want to say one thing that, I mean, I would even argue that, if you're a writer, you're in a good situation. The fact that you can actually write, because sometimes, I wish I was more of a classical writer where I can actually write novels and things like that, because there's a market for it. You can make an ebook tomorrow. After you can make multiple ebooks. Comic books are a slow burn because you have to write them, draw them, color them, ink them, the whole 9 yards. I mean, by the time it takes me to do 1 volume, of a comic, if you're a writer, you can have 2 or 3 stories out by then, full stories, so, just count your blessings if you're an actual writer and you know how to write. Don't wait on the artist. Go ahead and get out there and get your stuff out there, and start putting your stuff in the public.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, like I said, because I got someone yelling at me, family members yelling at me because they wanted something. Anyways, yeah, and like they wanted me to do something by 5 o'clock, and I just did it. And they're like, "Well, it's too late." I'm like, "It's not 5 o'clock yet." Anyway, that's my personal business, folks. I'm sorry about that. Raymond knows probably who I'm talking about that we even saying it, but no, the thing I remembered about last night, I'm sorry, that I wanted to say was that, here's what was so crazy. This young man who's writing us, telling us like, I got this great concept, blah, blah, blah. I mean, write me this long note, give me all this information. I think he maybe even gave me his phone number, which is crazy. You never go out your phone number. But the kicker to the whole thing is that I go to his page to look and see if I can see anything that he does, any sort of, artistic ability, nothing. It's all pictures of him, his girlfriend, yada, yada, beautiful, family and friends and stuff. But the part that killed me, Raymond, is that he's learning Japanese. And so it's full of all these Japanese things that he's learning. He's learning how to write Japanese, this and the other. And I'm looking at this and thinking to myself, like, now, here, you know what? You've got a skill set that actually is desirable.
Right.
That's what you should be looking at.
That's right.
You know, it's like you wanted to try to come up with something like, you know, as if like no one has ever thought of a comic book idea.
That's right.
But you're going to sit there and waste time. You don't have any artwork up there and so forth. You're going to waste time trying to come up with a comic book idea. That, by the way, to be clear again, if people get bent out of shape about this, I apologize. But not everybody's going to have a comic book. I mean, like, even if you got a great comic book idea, doesn't mean you're going to make a comic book. Yeah. So I mean, you know, Saturday was full of people who tried to make comics and then stopped because they couldn't do it. You know, it's just too much stress. The money's not immediate, or it's just too much work. And, you know, they're just not ready for all of that yet. Bottom line is that you got to get in where you fit in. And so if you're a writer, you don't have an artist, well, then you need to be a writer. You don't call yourself a writer, you need to be a writer. Write articles, write blog posts. Saturday AM would love to have more articles in our magazines. We would love to have someone who can write our newsletter. We would love to have someone who can write, put content on our website, blog posts on our website. We would love to have these things. That could be your way into a management position within our company, because we need those roles. The problem is that it's constantly a scenario where the individuals doing those things aren't serious about doing those things, at least that we've seen, because they still dream of one day being white manga. And to be fair, they don't have the talent level anywhere close to white manga. And so it's really frustrating. And I think a lot of this is the internet, because it empowers people to believe that they've got more to offer, perhaps, than they really do. And or the things that they have to offer, like this kid with his Japanese skills, is like, that's the one thing that anybody that wants to get into manga, you need to really know how to speak manga. I mean, how to speak Japanese or write Japanese. Here's a kid literally learning that, and he's more worried about whether or not he can come up with the next great comic book idea that we can help find him some help with, as opposed to like, hey, I need help translating Japanese. I'm like, I can do that. Like, we would definitely need that help. Go ahead, Raymond. Sorry.
No, it's like we keep going back to. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's time. You know, even with White. I mean, White. You know, anybody who's been following White from when he had his YouTube channel, they know he's been at this a long time. Long time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's totally crazy. So yeah, that's kind of where we are on that front. You know, yeah, don't be the guy or girl who's just, you know, I got an idea, but I need an artist. Like, that's not. I mean, if you're gonna waste your time saying that, you might as well say, hey, what can I do? That's you know, you guys want any blogs written? You want some, you know, can I write articles? That'd be great. Exactly. That'd be huge.
That'd be amazing. That's, you know, how can I join Saturday AM? Write an article.
That's right. Write articles. Right. And again, don't be wrong. We get people who are like, hey, I want to write articles, but I also want to make a comic book. Like, this is not a, you know, like, you need to be good at what you do. Like, it's not like you get to, you know, get into a company like, hey, you know, I really want to work at Marvel Comics. I'll take a janitor job, and then think you're gonna become the editor in chief of Marvel Comics. Like, you need to be one hell of a janitor first.
I don't clean toilets.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't do toilets.
I don't do toilets. In fact, I'm only doing this job because my next role, because I want to be y'all's chief marketing officer.
Pick that up yourself.
These hands are for dreaming of ideas. Yes,
that's right.
not writing them, not drawing them, just dreaming of cool ideas. Okay, so let's see. Let's see here. Mutton Chop says we also got Yellow Stringer. Of course, we have Yellow Stringer. We love Yellow Stringer. John E says, Raymond, do you write your comic as you go, or do you already know the full story before you start?
When we first got started with Saturday AM, I was going week to week just because, I mean, I've never been published, so I didn't know any better. As time gone on, I've tried to plan it out more. The third the volume after the volume 3, I'm not going to call it volume 3, but volume 3, when it comes out, that is going to be my first attempt in actually writing the entire story from start to finish. Like, almost, I'm almost taking a screenplay approach to it. So volume 2 is, like I said, volume 2 is going to be, again, you know, I had a good bit of it planned out, but when I'm done with volume 3, that, you know, that literally that will be the closest I've come to writing a full-on story, start, finish to end.
All right, let's see. So Mutton Chop asked, what story, show, comic, or movie is the absolute worst we've ever seen? I don't know if we got time for that. I mean, there's so many bad stuff you see, and it's like, you know, I'm not trying to. We can dig on so many people if that's the case. Let's see. Adam sung up some gum. Adam says, "How much time do you allocate to your writers in order to produce a chapter?" It depends on the artist. I mean, so we don't have a lot of writers, to be honest with you, and those that we do are working directly with the artist. So I'm not really sure. Like I can talk about, I write the series Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts with the artist Oscar Fong, and so I can tell you that we take a Marvel Comics approach, again, a la Stan Lee. So basically, I have detailed plots, and then he kind of connects the dots. So I might say, here's what's going to happen in this chapter. Here's some of the main things that have to happen in this chapter. And then he'll go in and actually connect the dots. He'll have the characters do the things. He'll establish what character's going to do what, how it's going to happen. So we get to this point and then get to this point to finish the chapter. That'll be driven by Oscar. So, yeah, I in terms of time, because of the process that he and I work, timing, I think typically for the content that would go into Initial Saturday AM, you want to kind of give yourself a month. And that's only because you want to give yourself enough time for things to get put together well. So it's a little different. But ultimately, I think that I don't know. I think I think about a month is to be expected, in my opinion. What do you think, Rim?
I used to have a writer to work with me, Will Cologne, and we would probably have a turnaround. I would give him generally what I was trying to do for the most part. We probably have a turnaround of probably, like Fred said, about a month. And and that way you have it. You have all the dialogue ready. So when you make the comic, you don't really have to think about the dialogue anymore. I mean, you obviously make revisions as you go, but pretty much the core of the dialogue and the story and the plot and stuff like that. If you give yourself a good month, you have time to concentrate on the art and really telling the story visually as well.
Yeah, let's see. Dragon Master says should you figure out the ending of your story from the beginning so that way you can add plot twists and hints that foreshadow the future. I want to avoid plot holes, which a lot of series suffer from. What do you think about that, Rim?
Yeah, definitely. The further out you can go, the better. The main thing is Fred talks about it a lot as well, but it's definitely true. Is to always have a beginning, middle, and end, even to your to the installment that you're going to release if you can. So if you can actually tell the story, the main thing is to tell the story from start, finish, start, middle, and end. And as long as you do that, it'll be a lot easier for you to avoid plot holes and things like that, from my experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think the short answer to that is that ideally you want to know where you're going in the story, but at the same time, I think there's something to be said for writing yourself into a corner, as Mutton Chop said, and then having the excitement and the drive to figure out how to write yourself out of it. Like I think there's something to be said about telling stories that are exciting and constantly, and getting the readers engaged. I think there's something to that. I think the problem is that, again, what ends up happening is that so many people, so many readers, so many creators, I guess, young creators, new creators, they want things to be perfect, and it never is. There's never a perfect scenario. So, writing. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, to piggyback off that, the best advice I've ever received was that go ahead and get your first chapter out of the way, because it's going to be your worst one. Because it always as long as you keep pressing forward and keep going with it, you'll get better. And that's just I mean, it's common sense, but it really, like I've been doing it personally a really, really long time. So I've been pretty much in almost every scenario you can think of, as far as loving the story, hating the story, wanting to wishing I could do something different. But the big lesson learned is that as you keep going, you learn, and you're able to pick up things that you just couldn't pick up if you didn't write that first chapter, and then that second one, and then that third one, and so on.
Yeah, no, it's totally agree. And I think I saw someone, Cindy Designs, had posted a great note saying, try having a timeline of major story events. Again, this is called the Marvel method, by the way. It's a very, it's typically like a summary. That might be a whole issue, is just like a a summary paragraph. It details the general ideas of what happens, and then you have to fill in the rest. It doesn't say, for example, that like it might say that Hulk gets brainwashed. It doesn't say how he gets brainwashed. Hulk gets brainwashed. That has to fight the Avengers. They end up fighting, and Iron Man has to assemble a big armored suit that can go toe to toe with the Hulk. Meanwhile, Captain America and team try to figure out what has brainwashed the Hulk, and eventually they find the bad guy, defeat them. Right? There's so many questions in that paragraph, right? Like, how did he get brainwashed? Who's the bad guy? Where does Iron Man and Hulk fight? How does Captain America take a separate team? Who is in the second team? That the Marvel method is a little more detailed than that, but that's generally the idea. And so therefore, then you got to figure out the other pieces of that. So it's really cool. And I think again, this you don't. There's some writers who like to have everything plotted out exactly, and in my opinion, that's how you end up in those holes. So give yourself room to be free to bounce around new ideas, and if you get stuck, have the goal and desire to be willing to kind of try new ideas, eat yourself out of it. Don't start from scratch. Don't reboot everything. I mean, it can be done. It has been done. I've done it. Raymond's done it, but you don't have to do that. You can, if you always start from this one principle. This is what I tell Raymond and White and everybody else. Don't do the comic for you. Do the comic for your fan. Give the fans what you think is going to make them cry, make them excited, make them scared. If you're doing that with your characters, then the fans will always love what you're doing. You'll always be able to come up with new ways. Maybe it makes the character in a tougher situation. Maybe the character gets hurt in a way that's irreversible, like they lose their hand or they might go blind or what have you. But finding that way to tell the story and always allowing yourself a way to advance the story, knowing that it might put you in a pickle, it might put the character in a pickle, but knowing that it's going to ultimately satisfy the fan, that's all you can really ever ask for. All right, folks, last couple of questions, then we're going to call time on this. No, we will not be at Anime NYC this year. We were at Anime NYC last year. We went to several places. We didn't feel the need to go this year. Zammy says, if I don't write for Saturday AM, I can still associate with you guys, promote you and stuff, right? I would say, hell yeah, Raymond.
For sure.
Yeah. Please do.
Yeah, please.
Let's see. Vicenia Design says, no, Light says, oh, man, I almost missed my man Raymond on the chat.
What's going on, Light? Oh, wait, I'm saying that like he can answer back.
Exactly. Yeah, Johnny says, writing is probably the hardest creative profession out there, and adding artwork and everything else on top sounds crazy. Respect to all comic and manga creators. I hope to join you guys someday. Totally agree. Yeah. Light says, I hope all is well. Congrats on the Kickstarter, and RIP Stan Lee. No Marvel movie will ever be the same. By the way, the Marvel movies, he filmed all of his things in advance, so he's going to be having cameos for quite a few Marvel movies still to come. So don't be surprised if you see Stan Lee in Avengers 4, by the way.
They always got the hologram technology, so.
And that's true, too. That's true, too. Adam says, how's the Saturday PM faring? Are you lads? Oh, Adam must be British. Are you lads experiencing a growth on that side? For me, it's the ultimate way to write stories that are the typical save the world story. Saturday PM is faring well. I mean, it's got a big fan base. People have came out and supported immediately as soon as we announced it. It's obviously been difficult. We've only released 3 issues to date. We expected to have released 6 by this time frame, so we're behind on that. We're really working hard to reframe things and organize things so that next year we can come out strongly. So we'll see. We hope that we can pull that together. But it's been a little difficult because Saturday PM is obviously a more mature series. The creators are mostly new, so we got to integrate them into the Saturday AM system. It's different, but we'll get it figured out. Joaquin Mogren says, "Are there any updates on the game?" No, although there have been some interesting discussions about it. So when we do reveal some stuff, trust me, I think you'll be very excited. I think that's all we got for right now. Raymond, any final things you want to say as we wrap things up?
Well, thanks again for everybody who supported the Kickstarter and everybody who subscribed, keeping us afloat these last 5 years. I still can't believe this is our 5th year birthday. It's crazy, man. Just wow. So everybody take care. It's nice being on here. Thanks for inviting me.
Raymond has never been on these chats. I'll just say again, folks, really appreciate it. As Raymond said, this is our 5th year anniversary today. We wouldn't be here without you guys. I want to thank you so much for supporting us and believing in us and showing us love at various times. It goes a very long way to helping us stay focused on the prize. You know, we've never allowed ourselves to get caught up in worrying about being terribly liked. We've always tried to stay focused on our main mission, which is to create more diversity in manga, anime, and the fact that people have embraced it more than we thought they would is pretty extraordinary. So, really amazed that we've made it this far. I'm amazed that we've assembled such an amazing group of people like Raymond and Andrea Voros and White Manga, Oscar Fong, Jay Oden, Jamie Molina. Just all the amazing creators, Tony Dawkins, all the amazing creators that we've got with Saturday AM. They're real superheroes. So to Stan Lee, we're gonna miss you, big guy. Thank you for everything you brought to comic book lovers and comic book creators like us. To all my folks at Saturday AM, happy 5th-year anniversary, and here's hoping that 2019 will be far bigger, far crazier, far more exciting, far more lucrative than we would have ever thought. We're going to get our day, folks. Hopefully our day is coming soon. That means you'll see articles and interviews from IGN and Crunchyroll and all these places that should have talked about us years ago. But anyway, we'll see how that comes together for these next 5 years. Thank you all. Raymond, thank you for joining the chat. And we'll be in tune soon with some information, video. In fact, our next podcast episode will be an interview exclusively with White Manga. We're going to talk about hip-hop and anime, what his background was like in Nigeria. We're going to talk about all this cool stuff you've never heard from White Manga. You're going to get a chance to see it, or hear it at least, on our podcast. So stay tuned for that and support our magazine. Thank you. In fact, let me leave you with these famous words here. Let me see here. I'm going to leave you guys with a really special, famous word that I think everyone here can appreciate. Go to SaturdayAM.com. All right, folks.
Nice plug.
Thank you. I kept thinking, I was like, what have I not done? Oh, yeah, I haven't done that. All right, folks. Take care. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.